guys, time for a model update. Now I'm not going to be doing anything with the kit because literally I've been waiting off. I haven't had any cash, so I've been sort of waiting off until I can get clay. I've got clay now. I've got several packs of it, so that means that I can start work on the rest of the molds now. So yeah, there's that. I'm gonna have to get more silicone because it's going quick, but that's not a problem really. So what I'm going to be doing today now is I'm going to be painting the 1/350 scale Millennium Falcon. So I'm going to cut my rambling and let's get into the painting. Moving on. So first things first, a bowl of warm soapy water. Put the model in. I'm just going to let it soak for a bit. Not too long. Doesn't need much. And then I'm going to take my toothbrush, not the one I use, but a toothbrush, and I'm just going to gently, with both my hands, going to put the camera down, I'm just going to go and just rub over the surface, just to make sure that every bit of release agent is off. And then I'm going to take it out, let it dry, and then I can start painting it. And there you go. You can see I've got some light grey here, very light grey, and I've just given it a couple of coats on the top section there, and I'm about to the bottom. So yeah, I'm going to give it a coat of this, and then I'm going to look at doing some highlighting, and then do some weathering. I think it's looking okay though. It's holding up the details quite nicely. But I think what I'll do now is, once I've done the bottom, I'm going to take a look at applying a lighter wash here or there, just to pick out some of the panels, and then do some of the colouring. But we'll see as we go. Next thing, get the bottom sprayed first. So I've got a good base coat on both, and what I'm doing now, if you look through the magnifying glass here, is actually just individually painting the panels now. Just in different shades of grey, and what I'm using as reference is I've actually got really good quality photographs of the studio miniature. So I'm basically, they're not exact colour matches, but they are pretty good in the colour range. So yeah, I'm basically just going over each panel in sort of the relative colour schemes that I'm seeing on the studio model. So yeah, I'm going to carry on doing this. Sorry if I went out of shot there, but I'm trying not to cock this up. But yeah, I'm going to carry on doing this, and it'll just be a couple of light coats. There's nothing, doesn't need anything major. Yeah, it's a slow, laborious process. So there you go, that's what it looks like now. So I've done a couple of the panels there on the top, some of these grills, putting some in the darker areas, same on the underside, so it's starting to break it all up. The next thing to do now is the sort of what it tells you are red panels, but I've looked on the model, and if you ask me, those red panels are actually brown. They're very much more into the brown orange range than they are red. So I'm gonna go and make up a little bit of brown, and then do the other panels. These little ones that are dotted everywhere on the ends here. There's a couple here in the middle. There's one or two here, and there's one there. So yeah, I'm gonna do those, and then once that's done, I can pretty much start weathering it. I've done a little bit of a test of weathering here. You can't really see it but there, but maybe you can if I zoom in. So there's a little bit of dry brushing gone on with there, just as a test, and I think that's going to work out pretty well. It is going to have a wash as well, and a couple of little things here or there, some extra brown added to it, and some yellow for because it says yellow on the studio miniature. But yeah, hopefully this is going to work out pretty good. So I've got the sort of reddish brown painted on now. I made a little bit of a cock up right here. It's not very much. In fact, it's, I mean, you know, look at the size of the brush. It's tiny. I'm trying to make sure that this is in focus. It's difficult focusing through a magnifying glass, you know. And I made a little bit more of a cock up on the back where on this edge here I just sort of slipped with a brush and it's just sort of splooshed. So but aside from that, you know, those two little cock ups have got to be cleaned up. It's all looking pretty tidy. Same with the underside. It's looking quite nice. I've got a little bit of tidying up to do here around this sort of square. But all the other panels seem to be pretty decent. So yeah, now the next thing to do now is to look at some of the other panels, because I know some of these have got a bit of a yellowish tinge to them, and then I can sort of look over it then and see what needs you know, bit of brown, bit of rust. I've got to do the windows as well in here. I'm going to have to do them sort of now, really, because I'll probably have to paint them black and then go over and redefine these window dividers. But it's not looking, I've seen worse. So yeah, considering the size as well, because it is literally, you know, this big. But yeah, I'm going to crack on now. I'm going to mix up with some sort of a yellowy grey and go over it in places where I think it needs it, and then it's on with the weathering. So I've just started doing the weathering now for the Millennium Falcon, and I'm trying not to be too heavy with it because I don't want it to be sort of blackened, but it's not looking too bad. It's coming out okay. The Millennium Falcon has a lot of weathering on it, but it's really sort of a lot but not heavy. So I'm going to carry on going around this now, and I'm just going to put a wash over it now. I'm going to do some extra weathering here and there in places with some dark grey, and then it should be done. So all I'm doing now is I'm just adding a little bit of rust and dirt and so on to the Falcon. I'm just choosing like little areas. I'm not choosing anything massive, just these tiny bits, just so it just looks like it's gathered in places. Because the problem with a model this small is you can't really do sort of massive amounts of detail in one place. So you can do a massive amount of detail, sorry, but you really don't want to do a massive amount of sort of like a big sort of brown dirt smudge in one area. So it's nice to sort of break it up so that it's you've got tiny spots here, there, and everywhere, and it just suits the model, really. It just suits the Falcon. So yeah, I'm just adding. It's sort of like dry brushing, I suppose. Not really. It's not really that. It's wet, but there's not really a lot of it. So yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just getting caught up with what I'm doing. I apologize. But yeah, I don't want to do too much. Just little spots here or there. That might be a bit much, but it is what it is. There you go. Right now I'm doing the back engine on the Millennium Falcon. I'm not doing anything too crazy with it. Literally what I'm doing now is I'm just going over it with some thinned white paint so it just sinks into all the grooves. What I'm going to do is, once this is dried, I'm going to go over it with a very light blue, just make a sort of a light blue wash, and then I'm going to dry brush the grill with a grey. Just let everything sink in. Yeah. The white I've made is it's a bright white, but it's really thin, so it is kind of like a wash in itself. sort of a 50% mix of thinner. But yeah, it just sinks into all the little grooves and recesses in the engine detail. And then when I go over it with the blue, then that'll be a very thin blue, and that should sort of just around the edge of each groove we should just sort of put a sort of little blue highlight, and then when I go over the grill then with a grey, it should separate it out, so it should look pretty cool. So after about 6 hours of continuous painting, the Falcon is almost done. I think it looks pretty good. Done sort of different sorts of weathering on it. Some have just been adding a little bit of grey and dry brushing the grey down the panels to add streaks. Others were things like taking a Q-tip and just sort of rubbing it onto the panel until some of the paint came off. So there's all different sorts of things going on there. There's washes. I tried not to make these streaks on the back too heavy because I didn't really want it really sort of dense and thick. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dry brushing going on. There's a lot of washes going on. There's a lot of micro painting where literally I've just picked out the odd panel here or there, or the odd dot here or there, where I've just put a blob of paint on it just so that it adds some sort of highlight and detail to it. The same sort of thing with the rust, where I've added rust to sort of little bits of areas here. I haven't gone bonkers with it, but you know, I've done a little spot here, a little spot there, a little spot there, and it's sort of all over it, and the whole thing sort of comes together and looks sort of right. Same with the underside, similar sort of thing. You've got similar sort of streaks and weathering and dots and panels and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's looking pretty nice. The only thing I've got left to do now is to do the windows in there and the windows on the underside, because I haven't done those. And obviously paint the guns. But aside from that, then that's pretty much it. So that's the Falcon. It's painted up and done, and it's sitting on my shelf there, looking all glorious in its intricate details. It is really a beautiful kit. For the money, it's incredible. So yeah, that's that done out of the way. Hopefully next week I'll be able to get back to doing the shuttles. But before my battery runs out, I'm going to say, if you've enjoyed this model update, feel free to like and comment on this video, subscribe to this channel, or if you fancy it, you can follow me on Twitter. Anyway, till next time, I'll see you later, guys.